Alrighty, traders, this is Blake Morrow, and you are listening to the daily Roundup webinar. Hope everybody's having a great trading session and happy Monday to you. Right now, risk assets are at the highs of the day. If you take a look at the S&P, we are challenging or close to challenging this, in my opinion, pretty key downtrend line. In the stock market, we're getting back up towards that 38%, the 26. We're above 2,600 right now, but really close to what I would consider pretty key resistance at this point. The markets are going higher for a couple of different reasons. First of all, is the pension end of month, end of quarter buying that we've been discussing. One of the other reasons why the stock market is going higher, what a lot of people are attributing this to, is that the markets like the fact that that Trump is going to continue to keep the country somewhat closed until April 30th, even though that's not good for our economy. Feels that I think the market's feeling that the administration taking the right steps, keeping people at home as much as possible and keeping them safe. So that's another reason. And as a result, you have these these equity markets that are pretty well bid. That I think, frankly, we might be at risk at challenging 2,700 again. I think this is entirely possible that we make it up towards these levels in the course of the next 24 hours. So I think that's the risk as of right now. And you're seeing, commodity currencies like the Aussie are faring a little bit better. It's actually faring better than the Kiwi, which isn't doing a whole lot, and the Canadian, that's actually weaker. But I think one of the reasons why the dollar Canadian is so weak is you've got crude oil that is absolutely just getting crushed, and we're not even showing any signs of a bounce. So if you're trading the Canadian, you're wondering why is the Canadian so weak, I think a lot of it has to do with the weakness in crude oil at this stage in the game. But the markets are fairly quiet. I mean, if you look at the euro's been drifting lower throughout most of the session. The Italian coronavirus numbers just came out, and they are showing some improvement. But as we were just discussing in the chat room, the problem with these Italian numbers and how hard Italy has been hit is they are really suffering as a country. And it's good news to see this the virus data improve, but that's not going to help the Italian economy anytime in the near future. So, but I don't think that's having a really big influence on the euro dollar at the moment. But what number I'd be looking at, if you're looking at the euro here, this is a 4-hour chart. You'll notice that the 618 retracement comes in at 111.66. So I think while we're up, below the 111.66, the risk is still for lower prices. However, we should probably end up finding support around the 109.50, 109.60 levels, I would think. The cable, very little action today in the pound. The pound's really just consolidating its recent gains. Like the euro, we are below the 125 level, which the 125.16, you can see it right here. Let me just kind of point that out. The 125.16, 125.18, somewhere around here, is previous support, which is acting as, current resistance. It's also the 618 retracement. So there's going to be a ton of resistance up at this area. Now, a break above would be pretty bullish in my view. But while we're below it, you've got to be a little careful with longs as of right now. One of the other currency pairs that if you, use ForexAnalytix, you just got an update. And so I'll just kind of clue you guys in because it's already dropped 100 pips, 150 pips since I sent out the update. The US dollar Mexican peso was basically testing the underside of the previous channel and also the 618 retracement. And so as you can see, we're pulling back a little bit from that resistance at 24.40. If you're long the US dollar Mexican peso, you have to be aware of what you're seeing here. That doesn't necessarily mean it can't go any higher. I just think that if you're long the US dollar Mexican peso, you got to be a little careful with it at this point. For me, I am recognizing the strength that we're seeing in the dollar Canadian, which is testing previous support, it's acting as current resistance, the dollar Mexican peso, which is also testing some resistance. I can't ignore the strength, or I could say the weakness of the Canadian and the Mexican peso, which personally I'd like to take advantage of. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be looking for the dollar Canadian. Hopefully we get a dip in the dollar Canadian back below the 141 level. And I'm looking to be long. Whether or not it's even going to happen is to be seen. But days like today, when things are moving relatively slowly and you're not seeing a big push one direction or the other, you have to be patient rather than, wait for your prices, for it to get to your price before you get long or you get short. You just have to be really patient and wait for those levels. And I think that's what I'm going to try to do here with the dollar Canadian. Let's really quick, I'm going to take you back over to the S&P. Just for those of you that are tuning in just a little bit late, I just want to point out once again, this, I'm going to take this little highlight here, and I'm going to highlight that 38% retracement. You can see it right here, right? By the way, I just found out my kids are not returning to school for the remainder of the year. It isn't surprising. I just got the official notice today. So just FYI. And I live in Scottsdale, Arizona in the United States. So for those of you that didn't know where I was located, that's where I am. But 38% retracement, big trend line here in the S&P. I think these levels are really going to define, whether we continue on to 2,800, 2,700, or if we turn lower from here back to 2,400, 2,300, maybe even a revisit of the lows. So I think this is going to be really important the next couple of days. Again, we are one day away from the end of month, end of quarter. The one thing that the overarching feeling that I have is that the market was very well aware of all this pension buying that was coming in since last week. We've been on it, understanding it. I don't know if it's all done yet, but I think a majority of it is. So I do believe that any type of upside that you see in equities are going to be relatively limited from this point forward. When I say limited, 27, 2,800, limited. If the bulk of the move happened last week, and that's because not everybody was well aware of this. Also, one last thing I'm going to leave you with. Before I do that, if you haven't tried out ForexAnalytix, make sure you do so. All right. This is our volatility offer. We have extended it actually until the end of the month, so a couple of days. So take advantage of it to be involved in the community. Hope you do so, and that's where you can join myself and other members of our community in the chat rooms. Chat with us throughout the course of the day. It's lonely, being a trader at home on your own, especially in these times. So take advantage of the offer. One of the last things I want to leave you with is also I've been reading reports that that end of month, end of quarter is going to be strong U.S. dollar buying. So think about that through, if you're trading some majors, like if you're looking at the euro dollar and you go, wow, okay, Blake just said there's going to be some strong dollar buying supposedly, here in the next 24 hours. Well, that means that, any rally that you see in the euro, you might want to look at it with more of a bearish bias, knowing that there's going to be some dollar strength coming through, or at least there's a good chance of it that because these are the reports I'm reading. So you might look to, short the euro on a move to 111. That might be the better play rather than trying to, get on the long side. So again, I'll reiterate, the reports I'm reading is dollar buying is supposed to be fairly significant going into tomorrow. So, if you look at some of these pairs, and I was just talking to you about the dollar Canadian, maybe the dollar Canadian's a better buy it on a pullback than trying to short, strength right now. All right, guys and gals, I want to thank you guys for being here today, and just remember, you have, as of Wednesday, you'll have to be part of the ForexAnalytix community to listen to this broadcast live. If not, you can catch us on YouTube on the recording a couple hours later. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great one. Good luck today, tonight. I'll see you tomorrow.